Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here. The Mega Master League has made its glorious return to the Go Battle League. This is one of my favorite Go Battle League formats of all time, so I am absolutely ecstatic that it is back. In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing Mega Tyranitar, a Pokemon that with the addition of Dragon Breath is now absolutely busted. Tyranitar has insane stats, only Primal Kyogre and Primal Groudon have higher stat product. Add to that new incredibly fast pacing with Dragon Breath, and Mega Tyranitar was just destroying team after team until I quite literally ran out of opponents. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in Game 1, we're off to a very strong start leading Zekrom into Lugia. My opponent is going to be switching out of that matchup and safe switching into their own Zekrom. I'm running Best Buddy on my Zekrom, so if I do end up in a mirror, I will be able to win Charge Attack priority. But in this case, I'm ahead by a turn, which means I get the Outrage before they get theirs. I am very comfortable just fully sacrificing the Zekrom here, because my goal is purely just to get farm with Mega Tyranitar. In comes Mega Tyranitar. I'm going to go for a one shield farm down. I don't even have to respect an Outrage here, but I know just how strong Tyranitar is. My opponent reveals their Mega is a Mega Ampharos, and there's a very real chance they're about to get swept by Mega Tyranitar. Stone Edge lands, devastating damage. Ampharos gets absolutely rocked, and Tyranitar will easily absorb that Thunder Punch and fully farm down. My opponent still has a full HP Lugia. Lugia, one of the Master League's bulkiest Pokemon, but I don't think Lugia is going to like what comes next, because Tyranitar is going to get to the Stone Edge. Stone Edge will remove almost their entire health bar, and they're forced to put up a shield. Lugia farming up to the Aeroblast just to lose Charge Attack priority. The speed of Mega Tyranitar. Lugia almost gets one shot, and this Pokemon is absolutely busted. They go for the fly. T-Tar tanks it no problem. I send in a Veltal just to show them that the game is over. We should see a top left here momentarily. Fly lands, opponent sees the writing on the wall, and concedes the match. Hopping into game number 2, leading Zekrom into Zacian. This is an incredibly good lead for Zekrom. Part of the reason why Zekrom is so strong as an anti-meta pick in this format is because Zekrom straight up beats Zacian. Zacian's Metal Claws are resisted by the electric subtyping, and you can always survive a close combat. So, I'm very comfortable landing the Fusion Bolt, absorbing the close combat, and then just looking to try and get a shield advantage. My opponent makes a bit of an interesting play here as they go for Behemoth Blade. Behemoth Blade still does quite a lot of damage, but the debuff doesn't really matter much because the Fusion Bolt would KO anyway. My opponent is going to be firing off the close combat, knocking out the Zekrom, but that's very okay, because it's time to send in Tyranitar. My opponent safe switches into Mega Latios, and this Latios is about to get absolutely destroyed. Latios has Aura Sphere, which would be double super effective, but Tyranitar is so bulky that I could even survive an Aura Sphere as needed. I fire off Brutal Swing, that's going to connect, the Dragon Breaths get the farm down, I exit with almost my entire health bar remaining, and a ton of energy. Back in comes the Zacian. Zacian, I'm going straight for the Stone Edge. Stone Edge connects, Zacian gets KO'd, in the back is Palkia, and that's another full Tyranitar sweep as my opponent concedes the match. We pick up a pretty solid lead in the next match, Zekrom into Mega Heracross. Mega Heracross is a very scary Pokemon to encounter. Realistically, the reason I'm calling this solid is because my backline gets absolutely obliterated by Mega Heracross. So even though Zekrom isn't an amazing matchup, this is where I need to see it. My opponent will go for the upper hand. I should be able to get a full farm down here with the Zekrom, but my opponent gets damage registration error as they're barely able to hang on and make a second upper hand to force both of my shields. Being down 2 shields is rough, but I've neutralized my opponent's Mega, and they have not neutralized mine. They send in Lugia, and this is a Pokemon that my entire team beats. I throw one Dragon Breath and then pivot into a Veltal. This should set up the timing perfectly so that I'm going to make the Oblivion Wing on the CMP tie to their Aeroblast. Aeroblast is a terrifying move if you don't have a flying resist. But now that I've boosted up my defense with Oblivion Wing, my Veltal should be able to hang on here pretty comfortably. Aeroblast lands, a Veltal survives, and in comes Palkia as their final Pokemon. Now they have a Water type with Aqua Tail into my Rock type. Surely this beats Tyranitar, right? Well, no it doesn't. Palkia actually gets destroyed by Mega Tyranitar. Wait until they throw the Aqua Tail and you're going to see Tyranitar actually survives 2 Aqua Tails. That's how busted this Pokemon is. Look at this. 1 super effective Aqua Tail. That should be a Charge Attack priority tied to a second Aqua Tail as well. And it's just simply not going to matter. Tyranitar is simply too tanky. Palkia's Aqua Tail lands. I'm going to survive and make a Brutal Swing. They're forced to pivot out and catch onto Lugia. I undercharge, but the Lugia is already low enough that it will take the KO. Back in comes Zekrom. They don't get the farm down, and we get the win anyway. We had to go down 2 shields in the lead, but Tyranitar is an absolute menace, and we get the win anyway. we pick up a very bad lead in the next match, Zekrom into Primal Groudon. Now this team is ABA weak to ground, so you might wonder, how does this team deal with Primal Groudon? Well, it's by safe switching into Yveltal and saving 2 shields for Tyranitar, as Tyranitar in the 2 shield actually beats Primal Groudon unless they're able to successfully double Fire Punch bait. That is the speed and the power of Mega Tyranitar. I'm very comfortable playing the 0 shield here, letting the Palkia knock me out, because all I've ever wanted is farm on my Mega Tyranitar. So I send in Tyranitar, get the Dragon Breath head start, and this is going to be a big problem for the Primal Groudon. In comes the Primal Groudon, but Primal Groudon is a ground and fire type. That means they take neutral damage from Stone Edge, and Stone Edge will hit very hard. I'm able to bait with the Brutal Swing, get the shield. I decide to shield up, respecting a potential Precipice Blades, and my opponent does full send. They pivot out, revealing their final Pokemon is Lugia. I bank a ton of energy and then send in Zekrom, and I should be in the driver's seat of this match. They recognize their Lugia was completely useless in this game. They're trying to throw it away, and they do get a bit of good luck going their way as they do get the Aeroblast boost. That is not great. That is a +2 boost, and that means these Dragon Tails are starting to shred through Zekrom. With the boost, I am not surviving this fly, so I will get KO'd. I bring back in the Tyranitar, and they pivot back into the Groudon. I'm not baiting anymore. I fire off the Stone Edge. It connects, devastating damage. But guess what? There's more where that came from. Tyranitar's pacing is just too fast. Brutal Swing gets the shield. Groudon just gets completely overwhelmed. I thought ground types were supposed to be rock types, but not in the Mega Master League. Shadow Tyranitar absolutely takes a life, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, we've got the Battle of Content Creators as I queue into Caleb Peng. I get a very favorable lead, leading Zekrom into Zacian. Now here, arguably, I throw this Fusion Bolt too quickly. What I should do is farm up 17 Dragon Breaths and throw right before potential Play Rough. Zacian very infrequently runs Play Rough, but you typically want to try and get as much residual energy as possible. My opponent close combats, I queue a switch into Yveltal, anticipating that it's going to be some kind of dragon in the back, and there it is Palkia. Palkia full sense of Spatial Rend. I no shield because I really like playing the 0 shield with Yveltal, because this is going to force energy out of the Palkia, and then I can get that energy head start on Tyranitar. I'm expecting it's going to be Gyarados in the back, and if it is, I'm going to need all the energy that I can get. But my opponent first is going to send in the Zacian. I farm up energy. Stone Edge would knock out here, but I'm just going to keep farming. This is now kind of a tough call. Does my opponent value the Zacian? Do they put up the shield? I say they do value the Zacian, so I'm going for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing from the Tyranitar gets no shielded, and that is a big problem. I farm up to 2 more Brutal Swings, but man, my opponent getting that bait call right kind of puts me in an awkward position. I shield up. I may even be able to Dragon Breath down from here as they go for the close combat. In the back, they have the newly released Mega Dragonite, and this could be very, very tricky. Dragonite is incredibly fast. Brutal Swing bait does get the shield, farming up the switch into Zekrom to catch the superpower. This should knock out the Zekrom, but they did go for a Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is going to set up a farm down, but they don't get enough energy to outpace the Tyranitar. I overfarm by 1 Dragon Breath, because now it's going to be a race to the move. Zacian versus Tyranitar. On paper, Zacian should be Tyranitar's hardest counter, but Tyranitar just says no. This Pokemon is so broken. Brutal Swing after Brutal Swing, taking the knockout and getting the win. We see a huge Core Breaker on the lead in the next match, leading Zekrom into Florges. Now, if this Florges is running Moonblast, which they typically are in the Master League, then I'm going to be in for a world of hurt, because you may have noticed my team all shares a certain very large weakness to Fairy. My opponent is going to be firing off energy. I shield, respecting the Moonblast, and they do full send. That's a pretty big swing of momentum, because I can kind of stat product gift the Florges here, because even with a Fusion Bolt and double resisted Dragon Breath, the Florges is already into the red. I end up pivoting out into Yveltal. My opponent reveals their Mega is Mega Ampharos. Mega Ampharos, unfortunately, will fire off a Thunder Punch right before my Focus Blast and KO Yveltal. But unfortunately for my opponent, they look like they are pretty farmable by Tyranitar. So I'm just going to send in Tyranitar and then just go for Monster Farm. Whether they throw Thunder Punch or whether they go for the Dragon Pulse, I know that I can survive it anyway, but look at this farm on the Tyranitar. I'm already almost at 2 Brutal Swings. I still don't have to respect anything that they throw. They're going to pivot out into the Florges. Florges, I believe, had 9 Fairy Winds of energy, so they should be just shy of the back-to-back Chilling Waters. And I have back-to-back Brutal Swings. Brutal Swing is debuffed, it's resisted, it still KOs the Florges, and in the back, they have Palkia. I fire off the Stone Edge. This is a -1 Stone Edge, but it still rocks the Palkia, and in comes Zekrom. My opponent just goes for the Aqua Tail. they want to set up an Aqua Tail into a farm down to try and make an Aqua Tail into the Tyranitar. They know that Tyranitar, even though it's low, cannot be Dragon Breath down. I fire off the Fusion Bolt, getting the shield and 1 HP of damage. They get the farm down. In comes Tyranitar. Tyranitar farms them down. Back in comes the Ampharos, and Tyranitar is just an absolute monster as we claim another win. Hopping to the next match, beating Zekrom into Kartana. The spice is absolutely off the charts for this trainer. Kartana is very, very frail, but they can survive a Fusion Bolt. I'm anticipating that my opponent is going to be no shield in the Fusion Bolt and trying to play the zeros, so I decided to go for the kill shot as I fire off the Outrage. Outrage into Kartana does get shielded, and unfortunately that was a pretty bad call from me. I'm just going to take shield advantage. Unfortunately, my Tyranitar does not want to deal with a Fury Cutter Sacred Sword Kartana, but I can send in a Veltal. They bank a move and pivot into Palkia, and here, arguably, I should have pivoted into the Tyranitar, because Tyranitar has a very dominant Palkia matchup. Even down energy, you win all even shield scenarios, by virtue of the fact that Tyranitar tanks a Palkia Aqua Tail extremely comfortably. Palkia is going to be firing off all their energy here, Aqua Tail into the Spatial Rend, and I'm taking shield advantage Tyranitar versus the world. However, it's almost like I don't have shield advantage, because I know the Kartana has the Sacred Sword banked, and I'm going to have to shield it. In the back is Mega Gyarados, and I regret the play patterns that have led to this moment. I know that I will survive an Aqua Tail from the Mega Gyarados. Even though it has a super high attack stat, I can still hold on, but unfortunately, I believe that I don't quite have enough damage here. Even if I'm able to land the Stone Edge, I think they'll barely be able to hang on, make a third Aqua Tail, and then once they force the shield, they should be able to combo play me with the Kartana. I fire off the Brutal Swing before they get to their next Aqua Tail, but Tyranitar just doesn't win charge attack priority against Kartana, so the moment they make the move, I know unfortunately the game is over. This is one of the 2 losses that I had with this team, was somehow to a Master League Kartana, but the decision to Outrage and full send into the shield really ended up spiraling into a negative way, and Tyranitar couldn't quite sweep. We've got mirror leads in the next match, Zekrom into Zekrom. This is one of the many matchups where having Outrage on Zekrom is a very big plus. Outrage guarantees the knockout, or more likely a shield advantage. And shield advantage Tyranitar should always be very strong into Zekrom backlines, because the Zekrom lead cannot have a Zacian behind it, because otherwise they would just get swept by every Groudon lead that they see. In this particular scenario, I am AVA weak to ground, but Tyranitar does win the 2s against Groudon, so it's a lot more playable. I'm able to land a Fusion Bolt, getting my opponent very low, and then it's time. In comes Tyranitar, and I snipe my opponent down before they get their move. They revealed their Primal is Primal Kyogre, but this matchup, up a shield for Tyranitar, is not even bad whatsoever. I can just stay in with the Tyranitar, fire off the Stone Edge. The shield pressure from Tyranitar is insane. My opponent is forced to put up the shield, and they can't farm down in time. They fire off the Surf. I'm going to make it to the Stone Edge, and this is going to be dealing devastating damage to Primal Kyogre. Stone Edge lands. For being a Rock type into a Water type, that matchup went very well for Tyranitar. My opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We move to the next match, picking up a great lead Zekrom into Zacian. We've seen quite a few Zacian leads, and Zekrom just absolutely feasts. Now in this lead, I do overfarm properly. I always like to throw one before potential play rough. It's very unlikely they have play rough, but in the very unfortunate event that they do, you want to at least land 1 Fusion Bolt. So that way, you can guarantee that you've at least gotten some value out of your Zekrom. They go for the close combat. I return fire with the Fusion Bolt because my opponent is at a pacing disadvantage here. They're going to pivot out into Palkia, and this is a strange sight, isn't it? Switching a Rock type into a Water type. That's just how overpowered Tyranitar is. We tank that Aqua Tail so comfortably. They are never farming down. They're just outside of Brutal Swing range, so I'll farm up and CMP ties Stone Edge to the Aqua Tail. My opponent puts up the shield, and this is great for me, because I'm going to do the exact same thing. Shield, throw 9 Dragon Breaths, and this time I'm going to CMP tie with a Brutal Swing, because they're low enough that I definitely don't need to fire off the Stone Edge. So Brutal Swing will be delivering the knockout onto that Palkia. My opponent still does have energy banked on that Zacian, and their final Pokemon is revealed to be Primal Kyogre. I'm barely able to hang on and make a last second Brutal Swing. All chip damage is good when dealing with the Primals, and I send in a Veltal. I debate going for the catch on 6, but I thought it was too obvious, so I don't go for the catch, and my opponent throws right there. They're probably switching in Zacian. I'm going to need a catch. There's the switch into Zacian, and we get the catch onto the Zekrom. We didn't get it the first time, but when it matters most, we catch the Behemoth Blade, and that's going to be game over. A Veltal overfarms, firing off Oblivion Wing. This will take the knockout and boost up our defense. That means Kyogre can never farm us down. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Hopping into the final match, Zekrom into Mega Heracross one final time. But this time, it is the shiny pink Mega Heracross. Heracross has an unbelievably good shiny. Heracross is at a pacing disadvantage here, but the counter fast move pressure is insane. As my Zekrom has already lost like 40% of its health, as my opponent will fire off the upper hand. Upper hand is fishing for a debuff. Luckily, they do not get it, and Zekrom will be able to outpace once again, put pressure on that final shield. Heracross not the bulkiest thing around, so they will be forced to put up a shield. Heracross trying for a farm down that they will not get. The counter did not take the knockout. I win switch and shield advantage. They send in Lunala. I can send in Tyranitar, but my opponent resigns the match before, unfortunately, I can send out T-Tar. So, Mega Tyranitar, what a Pokemon. This Pokemon is absolutely absurd in the Mega Master League. It's incredibly surreal to have a rock type that just absolutely destroys Palkia. You can even switch in down energy to Palkia and it just does not matter because your Dragon Breaths eat them alive. Aqua Tail you tank very comfortably and they can never Dragon Breath you down after landing an Aqua Tail. Mega Tyranitar is just an unholy abomination they have unleashed on this meta, and I had just way too much fun with it. I initially tried a first game with a team that led Zacian with the same backline, but I really didn't feel like Zacian was a good fit. I ended up switching to Zekrom, and Zekrom felt unbelievably strong as a core pairing for Tyranitar. I love that Zekrom simultaneously beat Zacian and could threaten Primal Kyogres, and even though I was technically, in terms of typing, ABA weak to Groudon, Tyranitar could take care of the Groudon, so the team had very nice synergy overall. The only fairy that I saw outside of Zacian was one Florges, and we somehow managed to beat the Florges as well. So this team, despite seeing matchups that on paper should be tough for, just kept winning. If you ignore the guy running Kartana, that Kartana guy absolutely destroyed me. Much appreciation to him, as that was a very cool pick. And unfortunately, my decision to full send the Outrage absolutely bit me in that game. But Mega Tyranitar, it's just insane. I can't count how many times Tyranitar ended up taking the knockout blow onto a Zacian, the speed at which it gets the charge attacks, the fact that it's so bulky that it can absorb super effective hits. Did you know that in the Mega Dragonite Mega Tyranitar Zeros, this is a fun fact, Tyranitar wins. Mega Dragonite throws a double super effective superpower, Tyranitar survives it, and on very low HP, makes a Stone Edge to take the knockout and win the game. That's just absurd. Why is a Pokemon allowed to be this bulky? I don't know. But for day one of Mega Masters, I'm having the absolute time of my life. And Tyranitar was an absolute terror. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching today's video, please do leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And an extra special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.